Alright, so tonight's lesson is lesson 99, and we are adding and subtracting whole and decimal numbers. Alright, so I'm going to read to you kind of the background of this first problem, and then make sure you write down what is there on the paper. Alright, in a science experiment, the scientists placed food at the end of a short maze and placed a mouse at the beginning of the maze. The scientists timed how long it took for the mouse to reach the food. And now I'm here. Then the scientists repeated the experiment 3 times. The mouse's times were 6 2/10, 4 25 hundredths of a second, and 3 seconds. What was the total elapsed time of the 3 trials? So kind of what we need to do first is decide, are we adding or are we subtracting? And I think when we see the word total, it should kind of get our minds thinking, okay, we want all of it. So we're probably going to be adding all of this. So we find the total time by adding. To add digits with the same place value, we align the decimal point. So whenever you're adding and you're subtracting, the first thing you want to do is make sure that your decimal points are lined up. Now, I know the lengths of the numbers may be different, but you need to make sure that the decimal points are the things that are being lined up exactly right. So I have 3 numbers, so I'm just going to put my 3 decimal points right away, okay? And so I'm adding 3 different numbers. So I'm going to take 6 2/10, so 6 2/10, 6.2, 4 25 hundredths, 4 25 hundredths, and then 3. Well, what is 3 really? Remember, we talked about whole numbers, and they really do have decimal points behind the number. They're just, sometimes we don't use them, sometimes they're not visible. But if we have a 3, we really have 0 in the 10th spot and 0 in the 100th spot. And same with our 6 2/10. How many do we have in the hundredths? We have 0. Now, you don't have to put zeros as fillers when you're adding, but I think it's a good way to not forget to keep your numbers lined up, and I think it's easier when you're adding just to throw in your zeros. It makes everything work out evenly. Okay, so now I can add, and this becomes a really easy problem. Now I'm going to carry my decimal point already down into my answer. 0 plus 5 plus 0, 5, 2 plus 2, 4, 6 plus 4, 10, plus 3, 13. So my answer would be 13 45 hundredths of a second. So I can put seconds as my answer. So really what we're doing today is just making sure we remember to line up our decimal points when we add, and we can use 0 as kind of our placeholder and our filler when we have decimals that are not the same length. Alright, go ahead and write the next one. It says, a computer that began a complex task 8 minutes ago needs 24 6/10 of minutes altogether to complete the task. In how many minutes will the task be all the way complete? Okay, to find the remaining time, we're going to have to, if you look closely, do you think we're going to have to add or subtract? We're going to have to subtract. We place the decimal point to the right of the whole number, like normal. So I'm going to go ahead and write 24 6/10, and I'm subtracting 8. But really, we're going to put our 0 right here because we have, our number is 8, which means we have 0 in the tenths column, 0 in the hundredths column, 0 in the thousandths column, okay? But we're going to go ahead and just put our 0 to make it easier when we subtract. Alright, we can fill the empty decimal place with a 0 if you wish. You don't have to, but it makes it a lot easier. So 6 minus 0, alright, it's going to give me 6. 24 minus 8 is going to give me 16. Don't forget to carry down your decimal point. A lot of times I go ahead and put my decimal point in before I even finish my problem. That way I don't forget and get confused when I have a bunch of numbers towards the end. Alright, and this is 16.6 or 16 6/10 of a minute. So minutes. So computer began a task. It needed 24.6 minutes altogether to finish, and it did it 8 minutes ago, so how much time is left? 16 6/10. Alright, this one is kind of an easier one. It says, which digit in 4 65/100 is in the same place as the 2 in 12? Okay, so we're looking at this number here. We look at our decimal point. What digit in 12 is going to be the same? The 2 in 12, so right here, is going to be the same in this number, 4 65/100. The 2 in 12 is in the ones place, okay? Now remember, 12 really has a decimal point at the end. So these are our tenths. You know this, 1 and then tens. So this is our ones place. This is the digit in the ones place. In 4 65/100, a decimal point separates the ones place and the tenths place. Okay, so here's our tenths place and our ones place. Marking the end of a whole number in the beginning of a fraction. The 4 is our whole number, and the 65/100 is our fraction. So the 4 in 4 65/100 is in the same place as the 2. So if I have 4, this is my ones column. If I were to draw lines for you, this is my ones column. I don't have any in the tens, and going to the right, I'm talking about a fraction. So my 2 and my 12 is in my ones column, and my 4 and 65/100 is in my ones column. So 4 would be your answer. Alright, in your lesson practice, you are just going to add and subtract the following problems, okay? Make sure that the very first thing you do is you line up your decimal point and then fill in any zeros, because you remember you can add as many zeros as you want to the right of your decimal point, and we will check them tomorrow.